Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to my review and in-depth analysis for 1997's Alien Resurrection, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet and written by Josh Whedon. Famous for The Avengers, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Firefly. Now, unfortunately, this film, in my opinion, was doomed from the very beginning because it has to follow the events of the abominable Alien 3, which I absolutely hate as a movie. I think it was a terrible film, an awful story is really what's at the heart of that matter for me. Alien 3 is a terrible story. That's why I hate the movie so much. Has nothing to do with the acting, the directing, the set design. All that stuff was great. But the story was just terrible. And because Alien Resurrection has to follow the events of Alien 3, just by default, I feel like the story is ridiculous. It really is. So I feel that another thing that is going against this movie is the notion that this film was made for people that didn't like Alien 3. And I think that the producers try to overcompensate in the sense that I don't know what, but it just seems like because people didn't like Alien 3, let's go ahead and make a mindless summer blockbuster action movie kind of approach, which was the wrong approach. I didn't like Alien 3, but just because I didn't like Alien 3 doesn't mean that I want like a mindless summer blockbuster action movie. I still want there to be some sort of artistic merit in the Alien series. And as much as I hate Alien 3, there are some artistic merits to that film, like the directing, the cinematography, the music, all that stuff. But here for Alien Resurrection, it really feels like this movie is directed like a comic book movie. Gone is the whole atmosphere that you felt in Alien 1 and Alien 2, and gone is it just feels like there's no artistic integrity in this movie. It just feels like we just want to sell tickets. We just want to get butts into seats this summer. That's what it feels like when I watch this movie. And like I said, the directing feels like a silly comic book movie. I mean, for example, the way there's one character in this film, I think his name is Christy. So Christy, the dude with the dreadlocks and the guns attached to his arms, like the way that he's able to precisely ricochet his bullets off the ceiling so that it always perfectly hits its target is silly. It's comic book silliness. And stuff like that was not present in the previous 3 Alien movies. Most importantly, the first 2 Alien movies that are actual masterpieces in my opinion. So there's just a bunch of comic book silliness throughout this movie. Now, I don't hate this movie as much as I hate Alien 3. And I will say that there are some really cool scenes in this movie. There's scenes that I enjoy watching in this movie. In fact, I can watch this movie from beginning to end and be entertained and not want to shoot myself like I do when I watch Alien 3. And that's because this movie, I feel like it's not trying to be high art. This movie knows that it's silly. It knows that it's just here to entertain. And unfortunately, this was a big turn in the wrong direction for this franchise, especially coming after Alien 3, which was a huge mistake as far as story-wise. But here, I'm talking about the direction. I feel like Alien Resurrection was the beginning of this franchise, where it ceased to take itself seriously and started to just cater to the widest audience possible, and it was all about summer blockbuster silliness. And this was the beginning, because what came after this? Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. And it wasn't until Prometheus that we started to get some sort of semblance of artistic merit back in the franchise. Whether you hate Prometheus or not, you can't deny that as far as direction and cinematography and just the way the film's put together, at least they were trying to be artistic. At least they were trying to bring back that tone from the original film or first two films, you know? So that's what I feel, you know, and this is coming from somebody that actually enjoyed Alien versus Predator, the first film. Like, I enjoy it, but it is what it is. You know, it's not high art. It's silly summer blockbuster monster movie nonsense, and it's entertaining, and I enjoy it. But I would have much preferred that the series take itself seriously again, and it wasn't like that until Prometheus came out. Now, another thing about this movie that I dislike, and like I said, there's scenes in this film that I highly enjoy, even though the story is complete crap to me. But what really makes me just not even, like, really rubs me the wrong way is the last act to this movie. The ending to this movie really rubs me the wrong way. And what I'm referring to is just this whole thing with Ripley and that half alien, half human hybrid, and how it acts like a sweet little innocent puppy towards Ripley, and Ripley's like acting like it's its mother and all this. And I was just like, ugh, like this is whack, man. Like, this is like, I don't like it. It feels almost like bestiality or some kind of incestuous crap going on here. It just really did not work for me, and it really rubs me the wrong way. And whenever that last like 15 minutes where all that crap is happening, I tune out. Like, I don't even want to sit through it. I don't like it at all. Like I watched this whole movie yesterday. And when I came to that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go use the bathroom. I'm going to start doing some errands or start doing some chores while this disgusting shit is on. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm a fan of horror. There's plenty of stuff that I've seen that's disgusting, but this, I don't know, man. When it comes to like little inferences of incest between monsters and people and like this bestiality kind of thing, and I get like the puppy, the little alien human hybrid thought it Ripley was the mom and all this, and I mean, even then, like, okay, like, there's no bestiality going on here, but it just fucking creeps me out. It sucks. It's like, this shit is whack. Sorry, it's no good. It really rubs me the wrong way, and I can't stomach it. Ever since I was a little kid and saw it in the theater, I was like, ugh, like, I don't like this. And it's still, that sentiment still remains with me to this day. So this film takes place 200 years after Alien 3, and basically they use Ripley's DNA to make clones of her and to essentially clone the alien queen that was inside of her. In Alien 3, where did they get the DNA? It was in the prison hospital, right? If you remember, there was all this stuff going on between the doctor and Ripley and drawing of blood. So there's total validity there when it comes to that. Now, in regards to the director, you know, I'm a fan of this director. I absolutely love Jean-Pierre Jeunet's film Amélie. That movie is a masterpiece. So much heart in that movie. I absolutely love A Very Long Engagement, another excellent film. And I absolutely love City of Lost Children. So it's not that this director is a bad director or that he's incompetent, because that's not what the problem is. The problem is that he was the wrong choice. Like, I don't know who would see Amelie or City of Lost Children and think that this guy would be perfect for an Alien movie. I feel like his sensibilities do not complement the Alien series. His sensibilities, they just don't connect. They're just what's the word I'm looking for? His sensibilities are incompatible with the Alien series, in my opinion. And as a result of this poor decision to have this director direct the film, I feel that the movie is not scary at all. I know I said the same thing about Alien 3, but comparing Alien 3 to this, like, Alien 3 seems like a horror masterpiece as far as tone when it comes to this movie. In this film, there is no horror, there's no suspense. In fact, there's this underlying comedic sensibility to everything, and I don't appreciate it. Like, even though I laugh and chuckle at some of the scenes, I much prefer that this material be taken seriously. And it's a drag that this movie is not scary at all. There's no suspense. And even though there's all this gore, like, don't get me wrong, this movie has probably some of the most gore out of the entire franchise. But you can throw all the blood and guts at me as much as you want, but it's meaningless if you don't make me care about the characters, if you don't know how to build up suspense and things like that. And this film fails spectacularly in that regard. It really does. Another thing that I really disliked about this film, and it really is like a devastating blow, is the characterization of Ripley. So Ripley is basically invincible in this movie. She's invincible. Ripley has super strength. She has super healing because of the genetic crossing between her DNA, which also had the Alien Queen DNA. So now you have this Ripley clone who's superhuman. And she's even telepathic with the aliens. She can even smell the aliens. I mean, it just gets ridiculous. And the reason why this sucks is because now Ripley, she's a strong woman, but it's in a superficial manner. Whereas in the previous 3 films, I'll even give you Alien 3. In the previous films, Ripley, she's strong because of her struggle. And because of the things that she goes through. She's strong because she is invulnerable. And because she's invulnerable and able to endure hardship and struggle, that makes her strong. But here she's like basically a superhero. She's a superhero. She's a fucking superhero. And it's boring. Like, she's getting stabbed through the hand and she's just like, oh, big deal. Takes the knife out, heals up in 5 minutes. I mean, it's like, what is she, Wolverine now? I mean, she even has acid blood. And Ripley, she's more aggressive. And so I guess I'm supposed to be impressed by that. But I thought it was really unfortunate that they went with this course of action. Because like I said, it really robs Ripley of the true strength of the character. Because now she's just strong in a superficial manner. And it's boring. I can't get emotionally invested in the character. Out of all the versions of Ripley, this is easily the worst one. This is easily the most boring. As much as I hate Alien 3, at least there was some kind of struggle there. You know, like she had the alien inside of her. She contemplated killing herself because she was tired of it all. She went through a lot of hardship when she lost Newt. Even though I strongly disagree with those artistic decisions as far as story, at least the character had struggles to go through. But here she doesn't have any struggle to go through. Except, I mean, you could say that one scene where she basically comes face to face with her clones that were mutations or failed experiments. That was great. That's one of the best scenes out of the entire movie. But that was like emotional shock at what's been done, and then she just kind of walked away from it and went back to being like invincible. So yeah, so I really don't like the way Ripley is characterized in this, and yeah, and her mannerisms are even kind of animalistic in this film. They kind of emulate the aliens, and it's like she's the mommy. She's the mommy of the aliens in this, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Yeah, I feel like this movie thinks that it's being deep, but it's really failing. It really isn't, in my opinion. I really don't. It thinks that it's being super clever, and I just feel like it just all comes across as ridiculous and silly, in my opinion. Now, that's not to say, like I said, that there aren't scenes that I appreciate. There is a little bit of, there are some scenes that I feel were compelling. Like, for instance, when Newt was kind of being given the Rorschach test by the scientists, and they show her the picture of of the little girl that looks like Newt, and it really throws her off. That was cool. That was cool. And we see now also that there's no more Weyland-Yutani Corporation. So Weyland Industries, or whatever the hell you want to call it, has been bought out by Walmart. That's what they say in the film. I'm not even bullshitting. They literally say that. I don't know if that's a joke. I don't know if that's supposed to be taken literally, but that's what they say. There's another thing about this film that I don't like, is that there's this cynical element in this film, and it's kind of nihilistic, and you see that at the very end of the movie when they return to Earth, and I'm referring to the special edition. They return to Earth, and Earth is basically a shithole. You see the Eiffel Tower has been like burnt to the ground or some crap. It's just a dystopia. And then I'm like, this sucks, man. So all this struggle to stop the aliens from coming to Earth and stop the aliens so we could save humanity, and then we come to humanity and it's a fucking shithole. I hated that. I was like, come on, man. It's nihilism, man, and I don't like it. It's depressing. It's a downer. Like, please give me back my happy ending from Aliens. I'll trade that any day over Alien 3 in this movie. But yeah, there's this cynicism all throughout this film, and I don't know. I don't really like it at all. So apparently, the United Systems military is the one calling the shots now. They're the ones that want the alien, and they're the ones that essentially conducted this cloning experiment and were able to extract the alien queen out of Ripley's clone. So, I mean, there you go. And I will say this about the film. This is a good thing. The creature effects in this film are outstanding. This movie shows you the aliens front and center. That could be taken as a bad thing for some people. I know some people would rather have them be seen less so that it builds up more horror and more suspense. But when you see the aliens in this film, they are absolutely beautiful practical effects. Great creature effects. Even like the little one, like when they're taking the alien out of Ripley, the little queen out of her stomach, and you see that little alien growl at the scientists and stuff. Like, that was amazing. I love that. I love the creature effects in this film. Arguably, maybe the best out of the entire franchise. And it's unfortunate that it's wasted on this ridiculous, silly story. Now, I will say this, that the crew, are the characters that we follow throughout this film, are way better than Alien 3 by far, and because of that, I prefer Alien Resurrection over Alien 3 any day, simply because the cast is a million times better. The cast in Alien 3 were dreadful. They teamed up Ripley with a bunch of child molesters and pedophiles, which was like the stupidest idea in the history of this entire franchise. But here we got Ron Perlman. We got great characters. We got Christie, the dude with the dreadlocks and the guns attached to his arms. We got Winona Ryder playing an android. And we got Michael Wincott playing the leader of this smuggling crew. And yeah, we got some great characters. I love the designs of these characters. I love the costumes. They look great. Too bad they were wasted on a silly story. Seriously. And Sigourney Weaver, as far as acting goes, she does a great job of what she's given with. It's too bad that the story is shit, but there's nothing wrong with her performance. She does a great job. Same thing with Winona Ryder. All the actors do a decent job. They really do. And like I said, I much prefer this cast over Alien 3. They're likable. But like I said, the story sucks. It sucks. So that's why at the end of the day, I can't recommend it. But if it's on TV and there's nothing else to watch, sure, leave it on. Leave it on while I do my work. While I do my computer work. Leave it running in the background. That's fine. So basically, what goes down in this film is that this smuggling crew, they basically hijacked a ship. And they sold the cryotubes to the military so they can conduct their experiments with the aliens. So you see the crew being used for the face huggers so that they can get impregnated with the aliens. So that's how this smuggling crew end up in this predicament on this ship. And then everything goes to shit once the aliens break free. And I just want to say that I really like the actor Brad Dourif in this film. He plays Chucky in the Chucky series, Child's Play. And he also played Wormtongue in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I thought he was a really creepy ass scientist in this film. And that scene where he's basically blowing kisses through the glass at the alien, and then the alien snaps at him. That was a real iconic scene for me. One of the few scenes in this movie that really stick with me in my memory. Now, Winona Ryder, who plays an android in this film, she basically accesses the mainframe of the ship, and that's how she's able to identify what's going on here. So that's how she learns of these experiments and an intent to basically replicate the alien. And she identifies this as a threat to humanity. So she initially takes it upon herself to go kill Ripley in order to, I guess, stop or prevent the aliens from being cloned or experimented on or whatever. And she realizes that she's too late. And then later we find out that she's basically programmed to protect humanity or something like that. I don't know. When I was watching this movie, I was kind of watching it and seeing the Winona Ryder character and how she goes in there to initially kill Ripley. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what is her mission? Like, I understand she's an android because I've seen the film before, even though they try to make it a secret and stuff. And I'm just thinking, like, is she programmed? Does somebody program her to infiltrate the ship? Does somebody know about the experiments and send her? But then it turns out that she's just programmed to be good. In the film, Ripley says, so you're programmed to be an asshole. And I was just like, so wait a minute. So she just takes it upon herself to carry out this mission to stop the alien. Why? Because she's programmed to. I guess she's programmed to preserve human life. I mean, in other words, what I'm trying to get at is this shit could have been written a whole lot better, in my opinion. Seriously. Because while I was watching the movie, I just questioned the validity of this android taking it upon herself to stop this this experiment from going forward, and that she would basically do this against the wishes of her crew. Like, I could understand if maybe she was just taken on as a crew member for the smuggling crew, but it seemed like she was with them for a long time. Maybe they explain it in the movie, I don't know. But it just kind of just feels a little contrived, in other words. Now, the action in the mess hall with the whole basketball and homie with the dreadlocks, Christy, was very silly. Felt like a comic book movie. The way that it's directed almost feels comical. And I just feel like it's inappropriate for this franchise that's always felt like it's had a sense of realism. That's what made Alien 1 so spectacular. That you felt that this could possibly be happening somewhere. You felt the world was believable. The world building was outstanding. Here, it totally feels like I'm watching a movie. Here, this world does not feel real. It feels like I'm watching a movie in the theater with my popcorn on my lap. Just mindless entertainment. That's what this movie is to me. This movie is mindless entertainment. It could be placed in the same category as something like the Transformers movies, because that's what this film feels like. There's nothing artistic about it. There's nothing deep about it. There's no rich themes that were present in the other Alien movies. I mean, even Alien 3, which I hate, had themes in it that you could discuss. Not that I like them. And when I say this film, Resurrection, is nihilistic, to me, it's like, it's not the message or anything. There is no message. It's just, the nihilism is just there without any commentary about it. It's just there because it's like, oh, I feel like the writers were like, wouldn't it be cool if we go to Earth and have it be this dystopia, ha, 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 kind of thing. It's not that they were trying to convey some sort of commentary about humanity. Even though there's little lines of dialogue that I guess you could perceive it like that, but not me. And what I'm referring to is, I'm referring to the point in the film once everybody realizes that Winona Ryder's character is an android, and then Ripley says something like, a human wouldn't be so humane. And she says that in reference to how Winona Ryder wants to stop the alien, in other words. And I'm just like, whatever. You know, it just sounds like you're regurgitating prior sentiments that were better explored in the previous movies, namely Aliens. You know. Now, I thought the way the aliens basically kill each other in order to use the acid to free themselves, I thought that was great. I thought that was an awesome idea. That really is. That was a great, novel, and original idea. And I have to say that. And again, the gore in this movie is pretty good. This movie has lots of gore. That scene where, I don't know, I guess the leader of the military, or the leader of the troops here, I don't know his name, but when he gets his head eaten out or basically impaled by the alien tongue, and then he pulls a piece of his skull and brain from the back of his head and he looks at it, that was disgusting. That was absolutely disgusting. Also, the way the guy with the glasses, he was impregnated with the alien, and for some stupid reason, the protagonists in this film want to keep this guy along. They want to bring him along, even though you know it's inevitable that the chest burster is going to come and put everybody's lives at risk. But like a bunch of morons, a bunch of compassionate idiots, they decide to bring him along and jeopardize the lives of everybody. Well, that scene where that guy who's impregnated with the alien goes nuts as the alien is about to burst through his chest, and then he grabs the head of the leading scientist, who's basically the villain, and he basically brings his head to his chest, and just, it's like a double impalement. You got the alien bursting through the guy's chest, and then it bursts through the villain's head. That was gnarly. That was disgusting. That was pretty good gore effects. So, I mean, that's one good thing I could say about this film, is that if you love gore effects, check this film out. You won't be disappointed. There's guts and gore galore in this film. But for me, that's not what makes an alien movie good. Now, Winona Ryder, her character says to Ripley, so this was a line of dialogue that I thought was super forced and contrived and poorly executed. Winona Ryder says, "I can't believe you just did that. That's like killing your own kind." When Ripley, basically, she reveals herself to the smuggler crew, and she kills one of the aliens, and Ripley's and Winona Ryder's like, "I can't believe you just did that. That's like killing one of your own kind." Oh, dude. I guess none of these writers, I guess Joss Whedon doesn't know the art of subtlety. Like, hell of a way to just spell it out for the audience. Like, wink, wink. Hey, everybody. Ripley, she is like an alien. She's like the mom to all the aliens. So this is kind of like her killing her own kind. So think about that. Isn't this deep? Like, no, it's not. It's not deep. Like, come on. Like, have a little bit of nuance and subtlety here. Like, for them to basically message it to me, to telegram it to me like that, just made the whole concept fall flat on its face and further reinforced the ridiculousness of the entire film to me. That's just my opinion. Now, one thing that was a little bit suspenseful for a minute, for like 2 minutes, and then they just blew it and totally fumbled it, was this whole notion that the ship with all these aliens is heading to Earth. Like, for 2 minutes, you're like, oh, wow, oh, no. And then the film resumes its ridiculous state. And then when we ultimately get to Earth, you just feel like, well, what was the point? Earth is already a shithole. It already looks like the apocalypse happened here. What's the point of saving Earth if it looks like a complete and utter shithole? That was such a terrible, terrible idea. Terrible artistic decision. Now, the best scene in this entire film, easily, is the scene when Ripley discovers the failed clone versions of herself. So she walks into this room and you see all these grotesque failed clone mutations of herself, and you see that there's one that's still alive, and it begs her to kill herself. She's like, kill me, and God bless Sigourney Weaver. Her acting is phenomenal, especially in this scene. And you see how Ripley, she has tears in her eyes and she's struggling and she can't bear herself to kill this version of herself, but then she gathers up the strength to do it. Man, I really have to commend the art and makeup department for this entire scene. Also, the creature designs, the monster effects. That's where this film shines. So this film fails in story. Even though it's better than Alien 3, it still fails in story because it follows the events of Alien 3. This film fails in its direction as far as suspense and horror, but it succeeds in creature design, gore, and and makeup effects. Really, and this scene right here is the primary example of that. It is a great scene. the best scene out of the entire film. The only scene in the entire film that elicits any type of emotion from me is this scene. And again, Sigourney Weaver's acting was outstanding. Now, coming back to some of the comedic elements that are present in this film, like I said, do I want this comedic undertone throughout the film? No, only because I feel like that really isn't a staple of the Alien franchise. However, there was some funny moments. Namely, one scene that I thought was really funny was with the guy that has the chest burster or the alien inside of him, and nobody wants to tell him what's inside of him, and he's like, "What's inside of me? What's inside of me?" And then he finally blows his lid, and he's like, "What the fuck is inside of me?" That was pretty funny. Another scene that I really enjoyed was the underwater scene. That scene was quite exciting. Like I said, this movie has some scenes that are very entertaining. And that's more than I could say for Alien 3, because I thought Alien 3 was just dreadful and boring. Nothing exciting about that film, in my opinion. But the underwater scene, that had some great actions. We never seen an alien navigating underwater, swimming underwater, chasing our protagonist underwater. That was pretty exciting. Christie, the guy with the dreadlocks and the two guns attached to his arms, that was pretty. That was sad that he had to sacrifice himself in order to save the guy in the wheelchair. That was one of that. I got a little bit of an emotional in that scene. That was well done. I really enjoyed that scene. That was quite exciting. And then Winona Ryder's character, it appears that she's dead, but we all know that's not true. And then it turns out that she's an android. And then this goes into the whole "a human wouldn't be so humane" sentiment that Ripley says. And then if you notice, when Winona Ryder goes into the chapel, she makes the sign of the cross. And I thought that was interesting. And then Ripley's like, "Oh, you're programmed to do that." So I don't know. I don't know if there's some kind of message trying to be conveyed to the audience as far as how an android is more humane than an actual human. But it's if there is any kind of theme like that in this film, it's drowned out by all the ridiculousness and silliness of this movie. And if you notice that Winona Ryder, she kills the main CPU of the ship, and in this film, they're calling it father instead of mother. I don't know if there's any significance to that, but just something that I observed, because in all the previous films, the CPU of the mother, it's always been referred to as mother. But here it's referred to as father. I don't know if there's an analogy to be had here or not. It doesn't really matter, because this movie is ridiculous. Now, another thing that we learn is that the queen that was basically taken out of Ripley has a human reproductive system. So eggs are no longer necessary. And basically, the queen, I guess, is giving birth to life-size xenomorphs. So there's no more face huggers, no more eggs or anything like that. But it led me to question, well, if that's the case, then who's making all these eggs? Because we see plenty of eggs throughout this movie, so who's making those eggs if it ain't the queen? I mean, at this point, I really don't care. But just something that I observed. Not that if you answer the question, it's going to make the film good. But that was interesting, a queen with a human reproductive system. And then this is where the movie just gets outright ridiculous and stupid, in my opinion. The queen gives birth to this alien-human hybrid. And then you got the actor that plays Chucky. He's in a cocoon, and he's like, "Oh, you're like a beautiful little butterfly. a beautiful little baby. And then it acts like a little puppy, and then it bites people's heads off. And I was like, man, dude, like this is lame. I don't like this at all. Like I said, it rubs me the wrong way. It feels ridiculous. It feels stupid. And the way this alien-human hybrid is all affectionate towards Ripley, it comes across as, I don't know, like almost incestuous or some kind of bestiality. It just really creeps me out, but not in a good way. Not in a horror film kind of way. It's just gross. And my mind totally checks out of the film at this point in the story. And I just think it's really stupid. And then ultimately what happens is this alien-human hybrid ends up killing the queen, and it ends up getting sucked out of this tiny little hole into the vacuum of space, and as it does so, it acts like a puppy being killed, and Ripley's there all sad because, I don't know, she has some kind of motherly attachment to this piece of shit, and it's all like, oh, and I don't know, it's like supposed to be sad, but I'm disgusted and fucking just want the movie to be over at this point because it's stupid. And all the cool scenes in this movie I've already watched. There's nothing good about this movie here on out. And she's all sad that this alien-human hybrid alien is being killed, and it's almost like infanticide, you know, like, oh, and I'm just like, oh God. And then, so the aliens are destroyed, and then we come to Earth in the special edition, and then, like I said, we see that Earth is just this shithole. It looks like an apocalyptic wasteland. And I'm like, thanks, man. Thanks. Such a nihilistic ending. Ripley doesn't know what to do. She's like, I'm a stranger here myself. And then the movie ends, and I really don't care. I mean, I'm so indifferent to this movie. That's really all I could say about this film, is that it's entertaining. The ending was terrible. There's a couple of good scenes. It's better than Alien 3, but the movie still sucks. So with that being said, I give this movie a D. I can't recommend it. If it's on TV for free and there's nothing else on, you may want to give it a go. But other than that, yeah, I cannot recommend Alien Resurrection. Thank you guys for listening to this review and in-depth analysis of Alien Resurrection. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share. Take care, people.